Hey, Baby J here with the Fligh podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and like this episode. Share with any other cannabis enthusiasts that would like to dial in on the session, as we're going to be breaking it down on many different topics around the cannabis industry. See you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Fligh podcast, brought to you by Southern Crop. Today, we're going to be having the wholesale team, myself included, and basically we're going to talk about some of the stuff we're seeing in the industry, talk about different things that are popular within the industry, some strains that have been popular within the industry. My background is I was in sales before this, been a cannabis user for a long time, recently got into the cannabis industry, been part of wholesale as well as some operational experiences here at Southern Crop. Been very blessed to be a part of this team. But I'll kick it over to Chris and he can run into his intro.
That's sweet though.
I have. I mean, it's a brand new team. It's a brand new team. It's new industry, new company.
Blessed to know you too. Christopher Ramage. I am new to the industry too. My experience is two sides of the coin. I've got a good amount of business development and sales experience, and also have a good amount of occupational, large facility, and large event experience too. So what I love most about this team and what we've built is that we're heavily involved for our dispensary partners in a way that is very solution driven. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that because I've been in that seat where my vendors and those that are brought in to take care of the issues or support me on that side of the coin. I really enjoyed and appreciated the people that took the time to have the right conversations and help me out to get to where I need to get. And we do. I feel like we've built a nice little foundation for our dispensary partners to get there.
Yeah. Ashlyn?
I'm Ashlyn Jones. I'm very new to the industry as well when it comes to wholesale. I'm very pro cannabis, obviously, and I got into the industry originally through a CBD and vape shop and just helping customers get different alternatives to things like opioids, cigarettes, healthier alternatives. I'm very, very passionate about that. When you talk to customers and patients and they are having their lives change with the things that we're putting out there, you really have a new sense of appreciation for the product that you're selling. And it's really amazing. And helping these dispensaries on a bigger scale. I come from a retail background, so it was a much smaller scale where I was just helping individual customers and patients. But being on the back end and seeing them in production and everything they have to do to get the product out there, it's really amazing to see what everybody does. Dispensary owners, wholesale reps, cultivators. There's a lot that goes into it on every aspect of the job.
Well said. Yeah. Well said. I think one of the things that, let's first kick into is some of the things that we've seen, like popularity from a wholesale perspective. We all have a little bit of insight into the consumer or customer perspective, but really when you're identifying different sales trends, different fads and stuff, a lot of that's driven by the dispensaries on what they're promoting. So obviously flower has been king. Yeah. Flower and vapes, I guess, would be second. Is that what y'all have seen? I mean, that's what I think.
And it's weird because when I started in February, and the best way I can describe this is those that are from the South understand this. When you boil crawfish or you cook gumbo, there's so many different recipes, right? There's no wrong way to do it. The industry was like that. So every region, every city it was different. Some were selling more vapes, some were selling more edibles. There was a 50-50 split, 60-40 split. But now the trends from what I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, gang, that there's been a lot of flower being sold. I would say 60% flower, then 20% vapes, maybe 25% vapes, and the rest edibles, somewhere along the lines of that. The trends have definitely shifted towards flower for sure.
Yeah. Side note, we just hit 420. Happy 420. We just missed it. Oh, well. Now I think flower has definitely been the trend. I am yet to put my finger on whether the customers are demanding more sativa-based blend or more sativa-based hybrids or indica-based hybrids. And the reason I say indica-based and sativa-based is I do not believe that there's any really true pure sativas out there right now. I mean, there's been some great strains, like some great strains in the market that are really old school strains. I mean, I've seen some great growers with Pineapple Express, Durban Poison, White Widow. Sour Diesel has been out there and been very popular. There's one grower in particular that has a really, really good Oreo strain. So we've seen a lot of success in there. And the reason why we feel like, some of these older strains have been popular is just the names that they carry with them. Right now in Mississippi, we're only barely a year into it, or not even a year into it.
Just under
a year into it is the people who are now new to the program or new to cannabis, because this whole thing is new, are relying on strains that have historical significance, like the Pineapple Express, the White Widow, the Durban Poison, the Sour Diesels, because I heard about Sour Diesel 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
So
media did a good job. Media did a good job of highlighting those strains, but also those that went to right markets.
Yep.
They found their favorite strains from there too, and they're now asking for it.
Yeah, that's right. So, that's actually something that we've been discussing internally, because at the end of the day, everything in this company is driven by sales. The feedback we get from consumers, feedback we get from dispensaries. And obviously, with everything that goes on in this building, all the automation, all the cutting edge technology that we do have, and we're very happy to have, why would we continue down the same road that everyone else is on?
Yeah.
When we paved our own. Let's really sit back and think about it. Like, why would we continue to grow the same things that everybody else is growing? Why not introduce new strains to the market? So that's something that we're trying to kind of debating internally, and what that'll look like. But right now, really, those old school strains have been what's been pushing the market. And then some of these Mississippi growers, there's a lot of growers out there that have impressed me. I would name names, but I don't want to name names without getting permission first and beforehand.
Absolutely.
But just if I was to name names, only positive things to say about some of these guys.
1,000%.
Some of these smaller grows and even the mid-sized grows have just been absolutely crushing it. And from a consumer, you have my patient card. That for me, I've been shocked. I didn't think that a state that just opened this up immediately, especially in the Southeast, where cannabis has always been kind of looked down upon, would be able to move this quickly and make this much progress from a cultivation standpoint. So,
absolutely. And it's fun to watch too. As we're out and having conversations and building relationships with dispensaries, for me, that also helps me be introduced to cultivators, and whether I support them in person or support them by buying their product, I've got to know these individuals, and it's really cool to see the growth that this industry has.
Oh yeah,
it's great.
Oh yeah, it's been awesome. The community's awesome. Shoot, I've got a dispensary down on the south side, and they reached out to me and they asked me what other growers to carry, and I was honest with them about people who I consume. And I called the dude. I called their sales rep, and he was like, "Hey man, I appreciate this act of kindness." And I was like, "This is not an act of kindness. This is just blatant facts. Y'all grow great cannabis. Doesn't matter who you are, what name you have, you grow great cannabis, period."
I have introduced some of my dispensary partners to some cultivators too. And I tell those individuals same way as I tell the cultivators, hey, look, if you're worth me referring, I'm going to do it. If I can make you succeed and drive revenue towards what you've built, that's a win. And for me, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that this industry, those that are worth it, are going to thrive. And
it's all about being honest. That's the coolest part about it is like, as much as we want to promote our own products, we also understand that there's going to be certain people that need other products or look for other types of avenues that we may not be able to carry. Everything in this building is done based on a certain number of parameters, And if certain strains don't meet that parameters, unfortunately, we can't grow them. So when we have an opportunity to refer one of our clients to someone that can solve that or create that solution for them, more than happy to do so.
And I've had the last 2 weeks, my theme has been focusing on intent. I'm getting kind of philosophical here. But the way I see it, if my intent is thrown out there in a positive manner, and I've got good intentions towards the people around me, I know that's going to come back and then some. So the way I see it, if I could do anything I can to make sure that the individuals within this industry do not close their doors, because let's be honest, if that happens, the perception is going to be so negative for the industry itself.
Yeah, I mean, and cannabis has been under fire for 100 years now.
And we've been only open for less than a year. If dispensaries, cultivators, transports, if they start closing their doors, and that perception is so negative, that's only going to either plateau our growth or replenish it.
Yeah.
And if I can help it, I'm going to do my best to take care of the people around me.
Yeah.
And that's including the other dispensaries, the other cultivators, and other parts of this industry.
Yeah.
That's where I see it.
Ashlyn, what about you? I mean, you used to work in retail. Like, what's your kind of opinion on what customers are looking for, consumers?
I think just having variety. I know that it's not dominating the market, but edibles and like capsules, having that so people can get that true medicinal benefit from it is really helpful. Having people, wholesale reps like our team specifically, Mississippi's backed by a lot of heart. All these cultivators that are putting some of their life savings, dispensary owners that are putting the change into their pocket into these stores I think it's just different than a lot of other states too.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's obviously when you think about cannabis, the first state you think of is California.
Right.
And I mean, we're very far from California, to say the least. So like I said earlier, I've just been happy with the progress the cultivators have made. I think that every day we're getting a little bit further past the marijuana stigma that we have in the Southeast.
Man, you know, it's weird. I've never experienced firsthand any pushback from this industry, from the general public.
Oh, I have.
But I know people that have.
Yeah, I have.
So that's awesome, because I want to ask you, if you haven't, two, what do you think the percentage would be of those that are strictly pushing back against the devil's lettuce?
I mean, I can't give a percentage. I could maybe say roughly like 20% of the state, and that would be like the high end of my guess. But like, this is the way I look at it. And this is the way one of my buddies we were sitting talking about this because we were catching up, and he is someone, there's very few of my friends that I would ever ask to come work with me just because I know my friends too well. But there's one guy in particular, and he's about to get married, and he told me point blank, and I didn't ever ask him, but I just made a comment like, I would never recommend a lot of our friends, but you have a long history with cannabis, a passion for it. But if that were to ever open up, would you ever be interested? And he was like, it would be, but now that I'm getting married, I can't, because my in-laws would not approve of it. And I was like, wow, that's crazy to think about, that like even now with how far this country's come about cannabis, that you still have to sit in that position. And he said, yeah. And I know that you sit in that position now too, because I do have people that ask me, why are you doing this? Like, is it even legal? Like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? And I'm like, yes, it is legal. But he also pointed out to me, he goes, the same people that are asking you that question, Joe, are probably going to call you in 10 years and ask how to get into it.
That's weird, because when I first was going through the interview process for this position, I had to sit down with my family and tell them, like, this is what the potential is going to be for my career. I'm looking at this position with this company. I'm letting you know right now because I need feedback from you, because not only have you been extremely conservative my entire life and against this industry, but most importantly, we have kids in this family that are impressionable. So the one thing I want to do is make sure that it's okay with you guys before I move to the next step. And it was across the board. Surprised the crap out of me. Everyone in my family was like, absolutely, dude, we don't care. Like, Really? When I was 15 and you caught me with my stash, you cared then.
Well, a lot of it is fear-based, too.
Yeah.
People aren't educated on it, how it can help. There's a lot of education coming out and materials to really teach people about cannabis. Everyone I've talked to that had a problem with it just didn't know enough about it.
Yeah.
And once they know about it, know how it truly helps people, knowing how it's getting people off certain medicines that had such negative effects, and now they have an outlet to something that can truly benefit their life in a healthier way.
Which you bring up
much more receptive to that.
You bring up a good point, because one thing I have seen is in regards to that demographic that was born in the 40s. Those individuals, there was a split between the flower child that went to Woodstock and those that didn't touch it. That, from what I'm seeing now, especially with this industry being in Mississippi, I've been seeing a bridge that's gapping those two. And those individuals that are my parents' age are surprisingly open to getting their card.
Oh,
Those that I never thought would want to try this medicinally. Those that have been against it for so many years, they are now leaning on me for direction on not just where to get the card, but what to take too.
Oh shoot, yeah.
It's wild.
My own mother, I got kicked out of the house when I was 15, 16 years old, and now she calls me asking how to get her card and all this shit.
Well, also it was illegal. So we're in a very conservative state, and so for the longest it was illegal. So I think some people were just like, you shouldn't do that because it's not right. But now that they have an outlet, they have a way to do it legally, they're like, okay. They're probably like, thank goodness we can do this.
Absolutely.
They probably wanted to, and it had nothing to do with it being cannabis, just it being illegal.
I also think that the states that have now established themselves, people have been watching them for the last decade, and they've seen the benefits on an economic basis. And as they're seeing this news and seeing it happen in Mississippi, that I think that last decade and a half of California, Oregon, Colorado, what they've done really has helped bridge the gap too.
I think it's also, and I talked about this in the other podcast, is we now live in an environment where people understand that you don't have to. Just because it's legal doesn't mean you have to smoke weed. You can coexist. I mean, there's probably plenty of people that live in California that never touch this stuff, but yet they coexist with other people. I mean, for example, my own father is really big into wineries, and he goes out to California and visits a lot of wineries. And he's told me that every single winery owner, every vineyard owner smokes weed. He has never touched the stuff a single day in his life and never will. But he sits there and they pass around a doobie. He doesn't have it. He doesn't care. I mean, he just sits there and is like, whatever, no big deal. But he will not partake. So it's kind of like that weird coexist type of thing, I guess.
Smoke your weed while I sip on this 2008 Grigio.
Yeah, they pair nicely together. Yeah. Oh man. Speaking of, I think one of the when I interviewed, one of the things I was kind of opened my eyes to is like, well, there's sommeliers out in California, and there's a new thing going around. It's called ganjiers.
Yeah.
Have y'all looked into that or thought about getting your ganjier license?
I don't want to go through more school, man.
I mean, you learn about weed all day or cannabis.
Yeah,
I mean,
it still took me almost 7 years to get out of college, man. I can't add more.
Yeah, that's right. And you got to fly out to California and do it in person and all that stuff. It's definitely something I'm interested in. They got a waiting list for it.
You would be perfect for it.
Yeah, I just don't know if I want to be one of those guys that, is a ganjier. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm a ganjier.
Well, aren't you already?
I mean, kind of, I guess.
You are that guy.
I told my brother when he moved here, I was like, dude, we cannot be those guys that go back to our friends in other states. And we're like, yeah, this weed's trash. And they're like, oh, y'all are just saying that because you live in a legal market or whatever. We can't be those snooty guys that turn. Well, sure enough, that did happen.
Oh,
sure enough, that did happen. I called my buddy in Canada. I was like, has this happened to you yet? And he goes, oh, yeah, that's going to happen immediately. So, I mean, but that's also the cool part about it is like now we're in a legal market. We can go and learn about these strains, learn about these growers. Like tell me a year or two ago, you're like, Joe, what's the taste difference between a soil-based plant versus a water-based plant? I had no clue that you could taste the difference in a joint. But but like, yeah, I mean, people say you can taste the water, and it's wild. I mean, you learn so much about the industry every day, and I think even the people who've been in the industry for 20 years, they learn so much about it every day because it's just been illegal for so long.
Also, I mean, it's ever evolving too.
Yeah, it definitely is, with the different strains, the different genetics. I mean, the wild thing is this all started from maybe 5, 6, 10 different strains, something like that. Now we have 500. So it's wild, the breeding that goes into it. Hopefully one day Southern Crop will be breeding its own strains, hopefully down the road. I would like to see that happen.
Well, the cool thing about us here is we've built the foundation to create, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's from the tenureship, the knowledge, even the equipment. We have built the foundation, whether it's present or future, to create. And it's a cool thing. And it's a viable option for us. May not be in the first year, but it's definitely something we could throw in the pipeline.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it'd be something for us to look at. There's some growers right now that are doing some really cool breeding. I think we touched on that earlier, and that's something that I definitely want to explore down the road. I mean, but that's all I can really think of to talk about on this round.
I got something. I want to end this real quick with, as we are in this industry and as we are putting our medical card, what is our preferred preference of consumption?
Oh, well, I mean, I will either take a bong rip about 15 minutes from now, or
it's clockwork.
By the way, I get off at 4:30 now, 5 o'clock. They shut down operations here, so not on the clock, but after work. Either a bong rip, or me and my brother will roll a joint and split that. He's also a medical card holder, just for the camera. But I think either smoking a joint or taking a bong rip. I mean, that's the way. I mean, I can get into concentrates and all that, but really, when it comes down to what I do on a daily basis, bowl rip or joint.
Typically gummies. I do like the idea of not inhaling anything. It's not the best for your lungs. But there's something about, I have 4 kids, and there's something about sneaking out to the back porch and lighting a pre-roll and using it. That just makes me feel so happy at the end of the day. So that's been my choice recently.
Any favorite strains?
Anything that's an indica, really. I typically use it for sleep and anxiety.
I'm with you too.
So anything that's an indica is usually good for me.
Well, there's some really, the indica side, I've been a big fan of this one strain called Motor Breath that's been going around. Yeah. Been really popular. Pineapple Express on the sativa side is definitely, and I know that's cliche. I mean, I know whoever's watching this, Pineapple Express, blah, blah. Smoke it and tell me differently. We also have a great one called D's Lemons that has a excellent terpene profile, heavy limiting content that just really comes out in it when you smoke it. And I've been really impressed by that.
Our D's Lemons has been fantastic.
We'll plug our own product, but it has been a fantastic product at the end of the day. Then there's some good sour diesels out there. I think what am I smoking right now? Oh, there's this little dispensary up in Tupelo that has a grow in the back of them. If you're ever in Tupelo, Mississippi, and you're a card holder, go by this dispensary on Old Belden Drive. I'm not going to name names without permission.
I'm about to say, we have to bleep this out until we get permission.
Yeah, until we get permission from them to use their name. But if you go on Old Belden Drive, I promise you'll find them. They have a grow in the back. They're on 16 acres. They have a grow in the back, and they're doing some phenomenal work. They got some grows out of Colorado. A man from Mississippi's running the show. They're doing some phenomenal work. They just released a Georgia Peach Indicas, 29%. Do not be away from your house when you smoke this. Make sure to smoke it and either sit on the couch or go ahead and get in bed because you're going to fall asleep on one or the other. That's my go-to at night.
At night, I'm indica.
Yeah. So, but that's a really good indica that I've been enjoying, to say the least.
I enjoy smoking, but I've recently have been enjoying rolling my own joints.
Yeah, no, I've been rolling joints for a long time.
I couldn't roll to save my life.
I can roll.
Pre-rolls are my favorite that are already rolled.
It is therapeutic for me. I used to just one-hitter quitter in my dugout or maybe pack a bowl, but recently I've been just rolling my mini joints and then hitting that at night, right around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. That way I could watch some TV, then go straight to bed. But I've also been dabbling in some sativas on the weekends because that's when I have free time to be a little bit more active, but also be more creative.
Yeah.
And I've been really enjoying rolling a spliff and just sitting on that for a few hours.
When you say split, are you putting a little tobacco in there too? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can get about that.
Yeah, buddy.
No medicinal properties there, but definitely a little bit of fun. Well, yeah, no, I'm all for it. I mean, I roll my own because my brother is always trying to tell me he can roll better than I can. So always well, he's probably can roll a little bit better than me. I think that covers it. I mean, I look forward to following this up. Hopefully we'll get some permission from some of these guys so we can tell the audience who we're talking about. You know Motor Breath and you know Old Building Drive, and you already know who I'm talking about. Well, thank y'all for coming and tuning in on the Stay Fly podcast. We always appreciate it, and until next time.
Stay fly.